What happens when a machine fails in front of thousands of people, while one of the most flawless performers on earth is trapped inside it, suspended in midair? It sounds like a nightmare, right? But for Beyonce, on the night of June 28th, 2025, this nightmare actually happened, and what she did next had everyone in that stadium speechless. This is the untold story of the moment Beyonce's iconic sky car malfunctioned during her Cowboy Carter tour stop in Houston. And it's not just about a technical glitch. It's about grace, about instinct, about how even when the stage breaks, the star never does. Let's break down exactly what happened that night, moment by moment, and why fans are calling it one of the most surreal yet powerful moments of her entire career. It was a homecoming. Houston, Texas, a sea of lights. The booming intro of her set vibrated through the stadium floors. People had flown in from around the world for the stop of the Renaissance tour, and Beyonce knew it. Every detail of the show had been rehearsed down to the second. As part of the act for 16 carriages, a massive red drop-top Cadillac, custom built for the show, was designed to lift her above the crowd, a symbol of nostalgia, royalty, and rebellion all in one. The car rose slowly, floating toward the stars. Fans screamed, waved, and recorded every movement. But what they didn't know was that this jaw-dropping spectacle was seconds away from turning into something far more real than anyone signed up for. Because when the car tilted, everything changed. 1 minute, Beyonce was gliding effortlessly through the air. The next, the left side of the car jerked downward. It wasn't part of the choreography. It wasn't synced to the beat. It wasn't supposed to happen. And she knew it. In the blink of an eye, the car stopped midair. Then it tilted again. You could hear the sudden shift in crowd energy. 1,000 screams that sounded more like gasps. Phone cameras zoomed in. People in the front row were shouting. It was like watching a glitch in reality. Everything froze. Then she spoke. Stop. Stop. Those words were soft but clear, calm but commanding. That's when everyone knew this wasn't part of the show. And the crowd's reaction? Utter chaos. For a few seconds, it felt like time collapsed. She sat in that tilted car like a statue. No visible panic. No shaking hands, no nervous glances around for help, just her eyes, focused, calm, calculating, a queen surveying her kingdom, even as the throne beneath her trembled. It was almost haunting. In a world that thrives on chaos, Beyonce embodied stillness. That image, her sitting silently in that tilting car, high above the stadium, will be burned into history. Some say that moment was more powerful than any song she performed that night. And slowly the car began to descend, but it wasn't smooth. You could see crew members darting along the catwalk. Emergency buttons were pushed. A quiet hum started. Gears, motors, tension wires all working overtime. Then the car started to move. Slowly, painfully slowly. The vehicle dipped unevenly at first, wobbling like it had a mind of its own. Every second felt like a minute. The stadium held its breath as she was lowered from the sky. When the wheels of the car finally met the stage again, you'd think the show would pause, but it didn't, because Beyonce stood up. What she said next would leave the entire arena speechless. She stepped out of the car. No stumble, no hesitation. Then she looked into the crowd, and in that iconic velvet voice, she said, "Thank y'all for your patience." And then, the line that would make headlines around the world, "If I ever fall, I know y'all would catch me." It wasn't just a quote, it was a statement, a bond, a truth that melted through fear, anxiety, and malfunction. The stadium roared, thousands of people wept, and yet somehow, despite it all, she was smiling. But while she handled it with grace, behind the scenes, questions were already piling up. Despite the shock, the quotes, the viral moment, there was one thing missing: answers. Not a single official comment was made that night. Not by the crew, not by management, not even a vague Instagram post. Beyonce's entire team went radio silent. Fans waited, refreshing their feeds. Reporters called the venue, reached out to production sources, scanned backstage footage for clues, but nothing came. No apology. No mechanical update, no acknowledgement that the malfunction ever happened. And in that silence, the internet filled in the blanks. What they began piecing together raised more questions than it answered. Clips of the incident spread like wildfire. Fans slowed them down, zoomed in, enhanced lighting, compared it frame by frame. Every millisecond of that tilt was analyzed like it was a moon landing. One theory claimed the suspension rig had been showing signs of strain earlier in the show, barely noticeable to the naked eye. Another video shows sparks beneath the platform minutes before the car ascended. TikTok exploded with Beyonce car conspiracy threads. Some fans insisted it was just a glitch. Others weren't so sure. There was talk of sabotage, someone in the crew messing with the winch timing or introducing a software delay. One theory went as far as suggesting that the car was programmed for a visual tilt, but a last-minute override failed mid-show. The truth? Still unknown. And that's when the internet's imagination really took over. It was no longer just a technical issue. It became a cultural mystery. YouTubers created 20-minute breakdowns. TikTokers reenacted the tilt using mini car replicas and fishing line. Twitter, or what's now called X, trended with hashtags like hashtag Baystage Glitch, hashtag If She Falls We Catch Her, and hashtag Red Car Riddle. But under all the memes and dramatizations, the heart of the conversation stayed the same. Beyonce's silence made the moment feel even bigger, because when something that real happens and no one explains it, the mind fills in the gaps. And as theories flooded timelines, a new concern started to rise. Was this even safe? Industry insiders began weighing in. Stage engineers, tour safety experts, event planners. Everyone had an opinion. A few said the use of suspended vehicles in shows has always been high risk, especially in arenas with unpredictable rigging limitations. Others argued that Beyonce's team is known for over-engineering everything, making the malfunction all the more concerning. Some went deeper. Had there been cost-cutting, a rush setup, a fatigued crew? The theories weren't just online. Some were reportedly swirling behind closed doors inside the stadium itself, because while the car didn't crash, the system did fail. And if it failed once, could it fail again? But to understand just how powerful that moment was, you have to look at Beyoncé's history. For over 2 decades, Beyoncé has stood in the fire and walked out unburned. Long before this concert, she'd already faced more than her fair share of onstage danger. There was the time a power outage hit during a live set, or when a trap door jammed mid-show, leaving her stuck for minutes in a darkened hole, or when her hair got tangled in a stage fan and she kept singing. Every time something unexpected tried to shake her, she didn't flinch. The malfunction on June 28th wasn't a crack in her armor. It was proof of her evolution. She's not just a performer, she's a storm. Calm at the center, chaos all around. And the world didn't miss it. The internet turned that moment into legend. By sunrise the next day, every major outlet had covered the incident. Beyonce's floating car glitch, grace under pressure. If she falls, we catch her. And the internet did what it does best. It spun reality into a story, but for once the story didn't mock her, it worshipped her. The memes weren't cruel, they were reverent. Artists began drawing digital illustrations of her suspended mid-air, golden light shining beneath her. Some fans even created shirts and tattoos with her iconic quote. The malfunction wasn't just forgiven, it was embraced. But beneath the admiration, something more emotional was stirring. When the car dipped, it wasn't just steel and wire that shifted, it was something deeper. That moment peeled back the perfection of pop. It revealed the real stakes behind every perfectly timed cue, every pre-planned camera angle, every flash of light. It reminded people that beneath all the choreography, Beyoncé is still human, still at the mercy of machinery, still vulnerable, and yet she didn't crack. She didn't lash out. She didn't collapse. She rose emotionally, spiritually, visually, and the crowd, her fans, her people rose with her. That's why this incident became more than a glitch, more than a mistake. It became a mirror reflecting who she truly is, not flawless, fearless. And there's just one last question that refuses to fade. So, what do you believe actually happened that night? Was it a freak technical glitch, a warning sign, or something else entirely? The silence from her team might be strategic, it might be protection, or it might mean the truth is more complicated than we think. But one thing is certain, this moment will live forever in pop culture history, not because something went wrong, but because of what Beyoncé did when it happened. Now it's your turn. Drop your theory in the comments. Glitch, sabotage, or something in between? Because this wasn't just a show, it was a moment, a revelation, a reminder. Even when the sky tilts, Beyoncé doesn't fall. Please like and subscribe if you like the vibes by Clyde.